My name is Eliza Monroe, and I thought I knew what stability felt like. At 32, I had worked my way up as a software architect, spending endless nights debugging code and attending meetings that blurred into one another. But my apartment was my sanctuary, a quiet refuge with warm lighting, soft carpets, and shelves heavy with books that smelled of paper and possibility. It was mine. Mine in a way nothing else had ever been. Or so I thought. One Thursday evening, after a grueling conference trip that had left me surviving on vending machine, snacks and airplane coffee, I drove up my familiar street, anticipating the comfort of home. Instead, the sight that greeted me made my stomach collapse and my knees threatened to give out. There, planted firmly on my front lawn, was a sold sign. My tires skidded against the asphalt as my mind scrambled, heart hammering like a jackhammer. This couldn't be right. Not my apartment. Not the one place I had fought, saved, and sacrificed for. Not the life I painstakingly built. I practically vaulted out of my car, my suitcase bouncing off my hip, and ran up the steps, adrenaline stabbing my veins. And then I heard him, a voice I thought I'd left behind in my worst nightmares. Eliza. My stepfather, Marcus, was there, standing in the center of my living room, casually lifting my belongings into cardboard boxes. Like it was just another day, like he wasn't destroying the one thing in my life that mattered. "Oh, hey, kiddo," he said, his tone as patronizing as ever, as if my presence were a mild inconvenience. Back sooner than I expected. I froze, unable to breathe. "Kiddo?" I echoed, fury tightening my throat. He smiled that smug, calculated smile of his. "Yeah, you know. You always were a little dramatic." My blood surged. "What is going on?" I demanded. My voice cracked as it bounced off the bare walls of my apartment. Marcus didn't even flinch. He sealed a box with a crisp snap of tape. "We sold it," he said, as if announcing the weather. My stomach lurched. "We? What do you mean we?" He finally looked at me, eyes glinting with amusement. "Your mother and I decided it's better this way. That place? Too much for someone your age. You'll thank us later." I staggered back, disbelief burning through me. "No, this is my home. I earned this." "You had no right." He chuckled, a low, dangerous sound. "Earned? Child, don't be naive. It's all family money. Shared assets. You don't really own anything." The words hit like a sledgehammer, not because they were true or false, but because of the satisfaction in his delivery. Every fiber of my body screamed at me to strike, to scream, to dismantle him right there. But I didn't. I forced my hands into fists, nails digging into my palms, and asked through gritted teeth, "Where's Mom?" "Already in Spain. Needed a break," he said casually, swinging a designer suitcase onto his shoulder. Spain. So they took my money, sold my home, and flew across the world. You left me with nothing. My throat was raw, my hands trembling. He smirked, pinched my cheek like I was a child again, and said, "Don't be dramatic. You'll figure it out." Then he walked past me as though I were air. And just like that, Marcus boarded his private jet, champagne in hand, thinking he had won. I stood in the hollow shell of my apartment for what felt like hours. The silence sharp, almost accusatory. My furniture was gone. My art, my books, even my cat's little bed had vanished. The emptiness pressed down, making my ribs ache. I wanted to scream. I wanted to collapse. But I did neither. I picked up my phone and tried calling my mother. No answer. Not the first call. Not the second. By the fifth, my hands shook so badly I had to sit. I sent a text, "Call me now." The reply came slow, casual. "We'll talk when I'm back." When she finally picked up, her voice was calm, flat, detached. "Eliza, I don't appreciate the tone of your messages," she said. I laughed, sharp and bitter. "Tone? Mom, you sold my apartment." Her sigh was infuriatingly patient. "Sweetheart, your father and I thought this was for the best." "For who?" She hesitated, then said, "For you, obviously. It's a big, expensive place, and you're always working. Why keep a home you barely use?" Rage and grief collided in my chest. "I bought it. I chose this. And you sold it while I was away?" She tried to rationalize. "We can help you settle into a smaller place. A modern little condo, affordable, easy to maintain. A condo. They stole my sanctuary and called it a gift. My mind went cold. Then she admitted, almost apologetically, a fraction of the truth. Well, part of the money went toward our trip. But Eliza, it's family money. We all deserve happiness, don't we? That was it. My heart cracked, not from the theft, not from betrayal, but from the fact that she truly believed she had done nothing wrong. I spent the next hours combing through accounts, documents, signatures. I discovered the cruel precision of their plan. My name had been erased from the deed months ago. The mortgage was refinanced solely in Marcus's name. Legally, he could sell it. And the money, $520,000, was gone. Funneled into luxury hotels, private tours, designer bags. They thought they had destroyed me. But they hadn't. Instead of panicking, I dialed 2 numbers, my lawyer, a sharp, relentless woman named Jenna, and my Uncle Simon, my mother's older brother, who had long despised Marcus. They were my weapons. Marcus had forgotten one thing. The credit for the refinance depended on my mother's financial backing, and she had skeletons Marcus didn't know about. Let him have Europe. Let him toast his victory. When he returned, he wouldn't have a single dollar left. That night, I sat in a dimly lit rental apartment, lamp casting shadows over stacks of documents, plotting. I didn't shout. I didn't cry. I prepared. Every day, every night, every detail was calculated. Marcus thought he had won, but he had no idea the storm I was brewing. Marcus returned from Europe 3 weeks later, fully convinced that life was bending itself to his convenience. He arrived at the airport in a tailored navy suit, gold watch gleaming, sunglasses on indoors like some bargain bin celebrity. I watched from a distance as he breezed through arrivals, dragging designer luggage behind him, barking at airport staff like they were obstacles rather than people. The man dripped arrogance. Perfect. I had spent the past 3 weeks meticulously assembling the financial equivalent of a guillotine. Jenna, my attorney, had analyzed every transaction, every forged signature, every route Marcus took to access and drain the account tied to my apartment. My mother, knowingly or unknowingly, had allowed Marcus to use her portion of the joint family trust, something she wasn't supposed to touch without written approval from her siblings, approval she never asked for, approval she would never receive. My Uncle Simon had been livid. I could practically hear him turning purple over the phone. He used trust money for vacations? He thundered. Your mother might be blind, but that vulture isn't taking a cent without consequences. And that was when he told me something I hadn't expected. The trust wasn't just an inheritance fund. It was an investment pool owned equally by my mother, her siblings, and me. Legally, Marcus using those funds was financial misconduct. And it was a felony. I didn't need felony charges yet. I needed leverage. So I waited. I watched. I planned. Marcus strutted out of the terminal just as a glossy black Mercedes rolled up to pick him. Of course he'd upgraded his car while abroad. Why wouldn't he? He thought he was untouchable. I let him enjoy the illusion. For 3 days I watched him from afar. He spent money he didn't have on things he couldn't afford. Fancy restaurants, watches, platinum memberships, a golf club so exclusive it made royalty look budget-friendly. He had no idea that every transaction was being recorded, time-stamped and documented. Jenna and I collected everything. It was astonishing how fast someone can dig their own grave when they believe the ground is solid beneath them. On the 4th day, Marcus called me. I let it ring once, twice, 3 times before answering. Eliza, he said, tone dripping false warmth. You never told your mother you were moving. She's worried. I raised an eyebrow even though he couldn't see me. Moving? Well, of course, he said with exaggerated patience. Your apartment sold, remember? You can't possibly still be staying there. I smiled to myself. No, Marcus, I'm not staying there. Good, he said, relieved. Now, your mother mentioned something about a storage unit. We'll need to sort what's mine from what's yours. The audacity made me choke on my own breath. What's yours? Yes, well, your mother and I did make decisions together. And some furniture? I cut him off. Marcus, you sold everything. Silence. thick, guilty. Well, he cleared his throat. Yes, but it all went toward the greater good. Your good, I corrected. Our family's good, he insisted. I could practically hear him sweating. Eliza, you're being emotional. Marcus, I said quietly. You should be worried. He froze. I could feel it. His next words cracked. Why would I be worried? I didn't answer. I hung up. Let the dread simmer. That evening, I executed phase 2. With Jenna's guidance, I filed a formal complaint against Marcus for mismanagement of family trust funds. Because the trust had multiple beneficiaries, and because Marcus accessed funds without permission, the court froze all his assets pending. Investigation. Every single one. His bank accounts. His investments. His properties. Even his shiny new Mercedes was technically tied to an account flagged for review. Within 24 hours, Marcus was financially paralyzed, and I didn't have to lift a finger beyond filing paperwork. He tried calling me 6 times. I didn't answer. He tried calling my mother, who was still in Spain attempting some spiritual retreat she clearly didn't deserve. She didn't answer either, not because she didn't want to, but because her phone had been cut off from international roaming. Marcus had forgotten to pay the bill. Or maybe he thought she'd handle it. They deserved each other. The next day, things escalated exactly how I expected. I arrived at Jenna's office just in time to see Marcus storming through the parking lot, face blotchy red, hair disheveled, shirt wrinkled like he'd slept in it. I stepped out of my car slowly, letting him see me. He froze mid-stride. What did you do? He demanded, voice cracking. Oh, I said calmly. Everything I needed to. You froze my accounts. He barked. I can't access a cent. You shouldn't have taken what wasn't yours. It was family money, he screamed. It was my wife's money. It was trust money, I corrected. And guess who's also a beneficiary? His face drained. You! Bingo! He stepped closer, voice dropping into a low snarl. Undo this. Now. Jenna opened the door behind me. Mr. Caldwell, she said coolly, if you continue threatening my client, I will add harassment to the list of filings. He backed up, but only barely. I didn't do anything illegal, he insisted, though his voice trembled. You can't prove anything. Jenna arched an eyebrow. Would you like me to read the list of transactions involving trust, accounts and personal expenses, the luxury hotels, jewelry, flights? His jaw tightened. Those were gifts. For yourself? He flinched. The silence afterward was almost satisfying. He looked at me then, really looked. No arrogance, no confidence, no smug superiority. Just fear, raw, helpless fear. You're ruining my life, he whispered. Marcus, I said softly, stepping close enough for him to feel the malice in the air. I'm not ruining your life. I'm returning what you stole. The consequences belong to you. And then I walked past him and into Jenna's office. That night, he showed up at my temporary apartment, pounding on the door, shouting my name, demanding I face him. I didn't open the door, but I recorded every second. The next morning, Jenna submitted the recording to the judge as evidence of intimidation. By noon, Marcus was hit with a restraining order. He had started a war thinking I was weak. He underestimated how dangerous a woman becomes when she has nothing left to lose. And I was only getting started. The week that followed was intoxicating in its precision. Marcus's life, the one he thought unshakable, was unraveling brick by brick. Every luxury, every advantage, every illusion of control, gone. Jenna and I dug deeper, tracing hidden offshore accounts and undeclared assets. Every transaction exposing the reckless, greedy man he really was. My mother, now panicked and unreachable in Spain, was no longer a factor. The distance worked in my favor. Marcus had thought his power over me and my finances was absolute. He hadn't counted on patience, planning, and allies who despised him as much as I did. Uncle Simon, my silent partner in this war, had a particular delight in uncovering Marcus's misdeeds. Each new discovery was a hammer striking a nail in the coffin of Marcus's arrogance. Fake deductions, phantom business expenses, cash withdrawals with no paper trail, all evidence Jenna meticulously cataloged. By the end of the second week, The trust accounts were frozen, lawsuits were pending, and Marcus's personal credit had taken a nosedive. So severe he couldn't even rent a car without background checks flagging him. He had no access to the bank accounts that had funded his extravagant European vacation, his bespoke suits, his champagne nights. He was untethered, unmoored, and vulnerable in a way he had never experienced. And still, he didn't understand. He called me at odd hours, voice trembling, desperate for mercy. "Eliza, please. We can talk this out." "You don't understand." I hung up without a word. His calls became frantic, erratic, pleading. Every text, every email, every voicemail was evidence of his desperation and my growing advantage. One afternoon, as I sat in a quiet cafe sipping black coffee and reviewing documents with Jenna, I felt a presence behind me. A voice dripping with smugness spoke. "Well, well. Didn't expect to see you out here without an escort." I froze. Vanessa, Liam's ex, the woman whose idea of fun was inserting herself into chaos. Her smirk was sharp, triumphant, eyes gleaming with the thrill of confrontation. "Word travels fast," she teased. "Guess losing your home makes a big headline." I didn't flinch. "I didn't rise to bait." "Not today," I said quietly. She leaned closer, voice a whisper of venom. "Liam always said you were too proud for your own good." Guess he was right. Before I could reply, Liam appeared behind her, fists clenched, jaw tight. "Vanessa, step." "Back," he growled. She shrugged, still smiling, almost smug. I smiled inwardly, barely. Vanessa was irrelevant. A mosquito buzzing around the ruins of my life. My real war was with people who carried my blood. When the day Marcus returned from attempting to liquidate his few remaining assets arrived, I was ready. The air itself seemed electric as I drove past my old apartment building, observing from across the street. Marcus emerged from a taxi, dragging a suitcase, sunglasses in place, arrogance clinging to him like a second skin. He approached the keypad to enter the building. Beep, red, beep, red, beep. Again. His smirk twitched. The door didn't open. He knocked, hesitated, then banged harder. My mother appeared pale and anxious, a ghost of her usual self. "Marcus, what did you do?" she hissed. He stepped back, confusion etching deep lines in his face. "What do you mean?" Her eyes widened. "The code isn't working. Our accounts are frozen." Marcus froze mid-step, looking around frantically. "What?" I remained in the car, expressionless, savoring the collapse. Within hours, notices from financial institutions and government agencies arrived. The IRS, alerted to irregularities in his filings, launched an audit. His offshore accounts were flagged. The trust, once a playground, became a trap. He staggered, looking for escape, realizing too late that every fortune he had spent carelessly was now untouchable. That evening, my mother called me. Panic vibrated in her voice. "Eliza, do you know what's happening?" I leaned back, sipping a glass of whiskey, letting the sound of her desperation fill the room. "You and Marcus stole my home," I said evenly. Silence. Then, "It was for your future. You're always overwhelmed." "Stop. Just stop." I cut her off. "You sold the only thing I built for myself. The one thing I loved." Her voice broke. "We made a mistake." "Yes, they did." I hung up. By 11:47 p.m., there were slow, deliberate knocks on my door. I already knew who it was. Marcus, disheveled, hollow-eyed, his jacket wrinkled, hair matted. "Eliza," he croaked. "Please. Just a place to stay a night. I have nowhere else." I opened the door a fraction, arms crossed. "This isn't your home." "I know." He flinched, swallowing. "I didn't mean for this to go so far. I was trying to help you. By forging my signature? By draining my savings?" His shoulders slumped. "I thought I could fix it later." "Get off my property," I said quietly. When he didn't, I shut the door. The pounding started. "You selfish brat! I took care of you. You owe me." I dialed 911 for a welfare and harassment complaint. Marcus ran before the police arrived. That night, for the first time in weeks, I slept without the gnawing anxiety of betrayal. The collapse was faster than even I anticipated. The IRS investigation gained traction. Jenna filed the fraud case. My mother, faced with panic and ruin, filed for divorce. Accounts were frozen. Businesses locked. And through it all, Uncle Simon sent texts like a puppet master pulling strings. He tried to flee the country. Arrested at the airport. Passport flagged. I laughed, truly laughed, for the first time in months. Marcus Marshall, the man who thought he owned my life, was now trapped in a cell, forced to confront every lie and greed he had ever perpetrated. I hadn't just won. I had reclaimed my life, my dignity, and my peace. Weeks passed and the dust settled, but the echoes of what had happened lingered. Marcus's arrest became headline news in the local papers. Stepfather arrested in multi-million dollar trust fraud. I read it quietly in my new apartment, the one I had finally chosen for myself, a space that smelled like possibility instead of betrayal. Every morning, I brewed coffee and let the sunlight spill across the hardwood floors, a stark contrast to the hollow silence of the apartment he had stolen from me. My mother tried reaching out, calls, texts, even letters, each one more desperate than the last. "Eliza, we can fix this. Please, just talk to me." I ignored them all. She had chosen him until the benefits ran out. I owed no one apologies, no explanations, no diminished voice. I owed no one anything. Marcus's world had collapsed exactly as it should. His extravagant lifestyle evaporated under scrutiny. Every secret he thought buried was now exposed. The trust fund? Frozen indefinitely. The offshore accounts? Seized. The hotels, the private tours, the designer clothes. They were all irrelevant now, mere reminders of hubris. He was forced to confront every lie, every theft, every betrayal. And for once, I didn't feel anger. I felt the calm of someone who had survived a storm and emerged stronger, sharper, more unshakable. Occasionally, I imagined him sitting in his cell, stripped of the life he thought he owned, realizing that the person he underestimated, the one he tried to destroy, was the one who rebuilt herself from nothing. And rebuild I did. The court awarded me a settlement that covered what he had stolen, plus compensation for the stress and legal costs. I purchased a new home, one I could call mine, truly mine, without fear of betrayal. I decorated it slowly, thoughtfully, filling it with memories that were mine alone, untainted by anyone else's greed. Life after betrayal felt sweeter. Not because of revenge alone, but because I had reclaimed control over my own story. Some nights I lie in bed with the window open, listening to the quiet hum of the city, and I know I sleep soundly because Marcus, somewhere, is awake, staring at nothing, understanding, finally, the depth of his failure. He stole my apartment, tried to destroy my life, but in the end, I didn't just recover what was mine. I dismantled his world with precision. Patience and justice, that is the power of strategy, calm and resilience. That is the satisfaction of revenge when it's earned, clever and unavoidable. Some people think revenge is chaos. It isn't. It's quiet. It's inevitable. And it tastes like freedom. If this revenge saga gave you that rush of justice, smash like, subscribe for more epic tales, and share your revenge story in the comments. Click the next video box for another one.